seeing, we got our kayaks all loaded up. We're going to do a traveling session from Odessa, Nebraska back to Grand Island, our hometown. And we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of share some of our experiences, so those of you who are maybe looking to do something similar by going down the Platte River, you kind of know what to expect, the good and the bad, and what kind of some tips that might help you along the way. We'll start off with some of the good things that we got to see. Parts of the river, you really got to see some cool scenery. I would say probably my favorite portions of the river itself were between Odessa and probably up to around Gibbon. I thought we saw some pretty cool things along that portion of the river. A lot of wildlife, saw a lot of white-tailed deer, cranes, raccoons, owls, eagles. Also, there's a lot of deer and duck blinds and stands throughout the whole river. I mean, they're just lined. I can't even put a number on how many we saw.
I lost count.
There's a lot. One thing you'll see a lot in Nebraska, especially along the Platte River, is a bunch of duck blinds. This is probably I'd say about the 6th one we've seen in about an hour. The sections where the river widened out, it kind of really made it challenging, especially on the windy days.
Yeah, it was definitely windy that day too.
Yeah, so most of the time we tried to kayak towards the southern bank, where it kind of acted as a wind block for us. There was a couple times we went south towards the southern end, and that wind was just brutal. And definitely you don't want to stay in the middle of the river, especially when it widens out, because you get high centered a lot. A lot of beaches in the center. Another cool thing we saw was a yurt. I never even knew people in Nebraska would have such a thing here, but awesome. For those of you that don't know what a yurt is, it's basically a circular home made out of a heavy-duty canvas material. So we're floating along the river, and I'll try to show it. A lot of people that are into alternative living or tiny houses, a lot of them kind of opt for that. Very economical too. They're awesome. I really want to go inside one sometime, and whoever owns that, if you're watching this, nice yurt. That's awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool to see something like that kind of in our backyards in Nebraska here.
Definitely didn't expect it.
Yeah, that was kind of a neat surprise. Another good thing is we really didn't see a lot of people on the river.
We seen one boat.
We saw the one that was kind of towards the beginning, between Kearney and Odessa. And we saw someone putting in towards the very end, kind of by Grand Island. Surprisingly, the mosquitoes weren't that bad at all. I was kind of expecting that, but the flies. The flies were terrible. They would just annoy the crap out of you. Yeah, you fly. Yeah, but that tastes like shit. Even when you drench on the bug spray, which we had, it helped a little bit, but they
were biting.
Still bit us quite a bit, and even drew blood on my hand once. So make sure you bring bug spray, and preferably something that repels flies. Parts of the river get close to the interstate, so if you're looking to do multi-day camping, you're gonna have a lot of car noise at certain sections of the river. Probably the worst part of it that really made me sad, and it's kind of the reason why we're doing this whole video, Nature's Treasure video in the first place, is the pollution. Going into this, I kind of realized just how much just plastic pollution and like metal like can pollution there is in the river. But it was really sad to see just how much other types of pollution there are in the river. We'll put some video over what we're speaking of, but we saw just dozens upon dozens of people that dump their cars, old cars, into the river, where all the, you have all the chemicals in the car, within the car, that's just going right into the river. And what you'll see in this video here is quite a few, but honestly we didn't even shoot half of it.
No.
And
There's just that stretch of river where it was like just line of cars.
I think that was probably between, it was either Wood River and Grand Island, or it was Alda,
Yeah, I think it was close to Alda.
closer to Alda. But I mean, there was stuff before that too. I mean, right in the beginning, we ran into that. I think it was a Bronco. This is one of the many problems that I talk about. People just dumping their shit, gets in the river. There's chemicals, all sorts of shit inside that vehicle that's going to get in the water system. That's the sort of thing I want to prevent. That's something I wasn't even really aware of, just how many people dump their old tractor supplies or farming equipment or cars just right into the river because they're too lazy to go take them to the junkyard and for scrap metal or
Costs
whatever.
money.
And honestly, I think the state should be paying us for evaluating the rivers just to really show just how bad of condition parts of these rivers are. And it's so inconsiderate of the property owners to do that, because that affects everybody downriver. It affects all the species that live in that area, and they should be fined out the ass for it too. So that was really kind of disappointing to see along the river. Aside from that, some extra tips, I guess, if you're planning on kayaking between like Odessa and Grand Island or Kearney and Grand Island. If anyone's attempting this Platte River from Kearney to Grand Island, be careful of all the low hanging bridges. Along with maybe about a quarter mile before that, there's a really low hanging wire. Probably I'm assuming it was to warn about this bridge. Just to tell you how low it's going to be. So definitely probably not very many motorized boats, but kayak will do it. When we went, it was very hot. I think all both.
Yeah, it was like 100 degrees or 95.
Yeah, both days it got over 100. It was 101 the first day, and I think it got to 100 the second day as well, which really made me go through my water a lot quicker than I thought I would. I packed about 9 bottles plus another, it's probably like a half-gallon jug of water, and I went through, I think I had 2 bottles left by the end of the second day. Another thing with the heat is make sure you bring plenty of sunscreen. Also, another recommendation to that first day, I was drinking quite a bit of water, but my core temperature was getting really hot. And Jaden was smart enough to bring a special rag that you just dip it in the water and kind of drench yourself with it to stay cool. And I ended up doing that the second day, but by the end of the first day, I got really dehydrated. So make sure, even though you're drinking plenty of water, make sure you take enough breaks so you can keep your core temperature cooled down. Bug spray and sunscreen, definitely must-haves. And one thing that I wish I would have brought that I really didn't is to bring extra like trail mix or something that has kind of a good mix of sugar and salt.
Something to snack on.
Just something to give you a little bit more, to snack on, give you more energy. We brought oatmeal, some freeze-dried food. Jaden brought some soup.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yeah. We're finally set up at camp. We went 25 miles today. We're pretty dehydrated. Our pee is really yellow. Get lightheaded a lot. But other than that, it's great. It's fun. We're having a blast out here. This is what it's all about. Just being, a couple of guys farting and stinking and poor hygiene. I mean, that's kind of the definition of an adult male, right? We're making our supper now. Jaden's having creamy chicken noodle soup. I am having some chili mac with beef. And I'm also gonna make myself some peppermint tea later because my tummy's upset. So after that, I'm probably gonna pass out.
I don't know, I'd probably recommend Gatorade too, a couple bottles of Gatorade.
We'll talk a little bit about our types of kayaks that we use too. Mine is a day touring fishing kayak by Riot. That's the brand. It has a retractable skeg, and I will say it made a pretty big difference when that retractable skeg was deployed. It helps you steer straighter, so you have less work of zigzagging. And also another tip, I preferred having most of my weight in the back portion, because it seemed the second day, the morning, I overpacked the front end of it, and it really made me want to turn more often. So for my kayak, I prefer having most of the way towards the back.
Yeah, I didn't prefer my kayak, period. Like, it was awful. I have just a regular fishing sit-on-top kayak. It was horrible. The second day, I was getting blown left and right. I couldn't stay straight. It was awful.
Plus, his kayak had that tow behind compartment.
No, it's just like an anchor. It just holds you back.
When there's slack in the line too, it's just, every time you go, it's just going to act as an anchor and just kind of keep you held back a little bit. So that created a lot more work for him.
Mm-hmm.
The first day, he was definitely getting tired too.
Yeah, I was ready to call it quits.
But then the second day, he finally just kind of tied it back on top, and did that help?
Oh yeah, it helped a lot.
Just practice your packing as well. You'll kind of get a feel of how to distribute the weight so that you can go downstream a lot easier. Other than that, that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to discuss. It is day 2. We were going to spend 3 days doing all of this, but we decided let's just do the whole distance, about 60 miles in 2 days. Down the stretch we go. So here we are at the highway between Grand Island and Hastings, Nebraska, Highway 281. We did it in 2 days. We're just passing the bridge. We're going to go get picked up at what is known as Witch's Bridge. There'll just be less traffic over there. Alright, well, thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for our main kayaking trip coming up later July.